First of all, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming. This is our inaugural event for our centennial celebration at Four Rivers Equipment. My name is John Shearer. I'm the CEO for Four Rivers Equipment. And again, just want to thank everybody for coming in. As you know, this is our centennial year. Back in 1926, a little town called Holly, Colorado, the Roman family became a John Deere dealership. Back then it was just ag, and they sold John Deere tractors out of a little store. Today, Four Rivers Equipment, same DNA as back then, and have 13 locations throughout Colorado, New Mexico, and El Paso, Texas. So amazing job that has been done over the last 100 years. So just kind of give you guys an idea how this all came about. Talking about, hey, we got a pretty big milestone coming up in 2026. This was back last year, and we ought to do something really special to celebrate that. The management team and a couple folks sitting around, what are we going to do? One of the first things that came up was we need to do something to raise money, donate back, take care of our communities. And it's always been kind of in the DNA of Four Rivers and the Romer family to always take part in community activities. So we do that at individual locations all the time, and I'm very proud of the guys that are doing that. But we decided that, hey, this is our 100th year, so we need to do something that we can go across all our locations and celebrate together. So as we looked at who to partner up with, one of our partners, the American Cancer Society, came right up to the top. We do the big dig every year and really have some great relationships with those folks. The American Cancer Society does a lot of good things. And, you know, it's kind of one of those things that cancer probably has touched in some form or fashion everybody. It's either family, friend, mom, dad. Unfortunately, it's pretty prevalent and it touches everybody. Raising money for the American Cancer Society seemed like a no-brainer for us because they, you know, the stuff that they do every day helps people that come down with this research and the cures and the money that they put into that stuff is real vital. At one time, you know, the cancer diagnosis almost being a death sentence. Not anymore. Not to the work that the American Cancer Society has done for the years. So when we came up with the idea, it just seemed like a no-brainer. How do we make it really special? Well, why don't we take an excavator, paint it up with our colors, and get it around to every location and ask our customers and our friends to help donate to the American Cancer Society. The idea is, you know, our customers are just like we are. They have always been part of the community. They have always been willing to give. They're always willing to help. So we thought, what a great way for everybody to participate over the next 12 months and raise money for a great cause. You know, just kind of going back and forth. Like I said, giving and being part of the community has always been in our DNA. You know, the Romer family is still vital to this organization. We have our 5th generation Romer working in the business today, which is pretty remarkable when you think about a private business that they have 5 generations. Kind of give you a feel where all this came from. We have the opportunity to hear from the 3rd generation of Romer that came into this business, and former governor of Colorado, Roy Romer.
This is about community. So I thought I'd tell you what community was like when we all began. I was born in 1928. I'm 97 years old. But when I was 5, I was a part of this John Deere operation. We had one store. We had one mechanic. My mother ran the parts counter. My father was a salesman. It was a very small operation. This was in the 30s. The community was a part of our lives. When you live in the middle of the Dust Bowl, you're going to have neighbors to survive. Let me give you some illustrations. You know how we survived in the dust time? We we'd hang sheets on the windows and all that. Grasshoppers followed, and grasshoppers were so, they took everything. There wasn't anything green on the ground because the grasshoppers got it. Next one was rabbits. The drought killed all the predators of rabbits, so they just exploded. And so we had to have rabbit drives. The community of Holly would get about 400 or 500 people out in about a 4 or 5 mile area, drive rabbits into a netted fence, and then exterminate them. And you got a bounty for the years. It was just the community action of how you protect yourself because they ate everything that grew. When I ran for governor, I had some pictures of my rabbit drives where I was clubbing rabbits. They said, hey, you could hide those. You don't need to fit those out politically. But community was a part of life. When I was campaigning for governor, Kit Carson, Colorado, a farmer walked up to me and said, was your father Irvin Romer? And I said, yeah. He said, let me tell you, I bought a John Deere D from him in 1933. And the payment terms there was after your crop once a year, they'd come out and get a collection. So your father came out 3 years in a row with a John Deere collector. I hadn't raised a thing, 34, 35, 36. And they every year would say, hey, we'll see you next year. You keep farming. That was a part of community. Another one I remember, we didn't have a place to swim in Holly. So my mother would every once in a while get a group of us family together to take us to a lake to swim. But every time we went, we had to pick up 2 other people from a family that didn't have a car because this is the way we tried to share community. So community in a small town in the middle of the Dust Bowl of the Depression teaches you need each other. And I know we're working with American Cancer here in another very great effort. I just wanted to give you a little bit of what the feel of that was. One store has now grown into 60 or 70. I'm very, very proud to be a part of all of this effort. It's a good way for me to meet you and to stay in close touch with the rural community. Final comment. There's a kind of a elitism in this country about people who live in cities and people who live in the country. I think we all recognize. But I think people who live in the country are the basis of our values. I enjoy very much knowing you and working with you. Thank you.
As John mentioned, my name is Danny Bratton. I'm the general manager for Four Rivers. And I wanted to touch a little bit more on some community involvement. John had mentioned earlier, and of course Roy had mentioned, that our organization is very proud that each of our locations is involved in their respective community. And we do things ranging from toy drives to food drives. We provide support for local schools, for tech programs to develop the future, of our industry, those future technicians. We've provided safety gear for first responders with an organization called Shield 616. So as an organization, it is important to be involved in our local communities. And we do drive that every day. And I'm very proud of that as well as John and Roy are as well. You know, one of the other larger events that we participate in every year is the Big Dig. And I don't know if you're familiar or not, but that's a Northern Colorado event. Multiple stores, our northernmost stores get involved, but it really the whole Front Range is involved because we're securing equipment, for that event. Several pieces in the dozens of pieces at times. We get the equipment out. Our folks go out and participate. And, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I guess the gist of that is a bunch of young folks, young kids, some of which are cancer survivors themselves, get the opportunity to crawl up into a John Deere machine and operate that machine with a little bit of help. John Shearer's done that in the past. I've done it in the past. There's really nothing quite more enjoyable that touches your heartstrings than to see these young folks get that joy to do that. And it's always kind of fun to see the parents and grandparents videoing and taking pictures and really getting involved too. So with that said, we're very committed, to the American Cancer Society. The Big Dig event is an ACS event. And like John had said, it made a lot of sense to take that and expand it to all of our locations. So I'm really excited to see how all of our locations step up, get the donations, and really help move this needle. And I'd like to hear a little bit more about ACS and their vision. So I'm going to turn this over to Kelly Moran. She's the Vice President of the South Regional Development for ACS. So please join me in welcoming Kelly up to the mic.
Thank you, everyone. Hello. It's so wonderful to be here with you today. 100 years is quite a legacy. I'm proud to say the American Cancer Society is just a little bit older. We're 113 years old. And when I think about someone's cancer journey 113 years ago versus today, it's not even a different world. It's a different universe. 113 years ago, we were really looking at bringing people together, connecting, trying to, create greater knowledge. There wasn't really much we could do for people who were going through cancer back then. So we actually, this isn't widely known, but we would give people carriage rides through Central Park in New York City with champagne, thinking, well, if we can just brighten their day a little bit, at least that's something we could do for them. Fast forward to today, the options are much greater. Still today, 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women will experience cancer in their lifetime. So it's really something that touches entire communities, which is, I think, core to who Four Rivers is. And so the American Cancer Society is, I think, an organization a lot of people have heard of, but few people really know the impact of, because the impact is really large and it's on a global scale. It really stretches outside of our country. But there's 3 things that I want you to leave with today that the American Cancer Society does that makes me really proud to work there. The American Cancer Society is also the only cancer fighting organization that focuses on every cancer. So, when families deal with cancer, sadly, it's rarely just one person or one kind. So this is a place where you can come and really support everyone in your life who's going through cancer. And so we attack cancer, if you will, in 3 different ways. The first is patient support. This is a big grouping of things, but this is helping people who are going through cancer right now or who may have a cancer battle ahead of them that they don't know about yet. So we do things like give people a ride to treatment or give people a place to stay when they're going through treatment, because we know that making every one of your cancer appointments is the most impactful thing you could do to have positive treatment outcomes. And it sounds so simple, but it can be so hard. If your spouse is still working, trying to keep insurance and you have to go to an appointment every day for 4 months, or maybe you live in a rural community and your nearest cancer treatment center is hundreds of miles away. We're there for those people. We also are the #1 provider of cancer information. If you're facing a cancer diagnosis, the amount of information out there is overwhelming, and some of it is quite poor. But the American Cancer Society is a place where you could trust that information. Also looking at things like screening, prevention, early detection. All of that falls into that patient support bucket in ways that we're helping people now. Another thing we do is advocacy. So, Governor, you might remember the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network, but we work at the federal government and in all 50 states. We're a bipartisan organization. We work with all groups to make priorities out of legislation that are going to benefit people fighting cancer. So this could mean making sure there's insurance coverage. Who here knows, something like a mammogram being covered by insurance? We take that for granted. That's covered by insurance because of ACS CAN advocates. Also, research funding. So the government is the largest funder of cancer research in the country. And we secure those funds with our army of volunteers who go out every year talking to their representatives to say, hey, this is important and this is why. And then the third thing I want you to remember is research. So the American Cancer Society is the largest private funder of cancer research in the country. And we do 2 types of research. One is what you think of. We make grants to researchers who work at institutions. You would think that by the time, cancer researchers are brilliant. And you'd think by the time you got your PhD, found a job at a world-class institution, you should be able to sit back and let that brilliant mind work, right? No, they have to find their own funding for their entire careers. And so that's really challenging. And sometimes we lose brilliant minds out of the field because seeking funding is so hard. So ACS made a strategic choice. We actually fund cancer researchers early in their career. And then it's a real market distinction to be funded by us. So most of our researchers go on to get larger grants from the government, like the National Cancer Institute, things like that. We also do intramural research, which is following people throughout their whole life to see where do they live, what do they eat, what are they doing, and who develops cancer. And so this is what has taught us a lot of the things that we know about how to limit your cancer risk through healthy lifestyle. It also taught us the link between smoking and cancer, all those type of things. So ACS is, a large organization that has a lot of impact, but it's also an organization that is present in every community across this country and there for everyone. So a huge thank you to all of you for the fundraising you guys are doing. This is incredible, and it's going to make a ton of impact in people's lives. And now I want to introduce Ciera Wills, our Senior Manager of Development for Northern Colorado, to talk a little bit about the Four Rivers Partnership.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Like Kelly said, my name is Ciera. I am a Senior Development Manager at the American Cancer Society, and I am in charge of our Big Dig event that we partner with the Four Rivers equipment on. If you all, or some of you don't know what Big Dig is, like Danny was saying, the Big Dig is a American Cancer Society sponsored event that's held in September in Longmont at Ritchie Rose Auctioneers. It really lets kids and families come in, and we bring a bunch of companies from the construction and agriculture industry that come together and let little kids climb on the big pieces of equipment and even operate smaller pieces of equipment like mini excavators, backhoes, things like that. And it's not just for little kids either. Last year, we actually had a gentleman that brought his 80-year-old mother-in-law who had operating a piece of large equipment on her bucket list. And so they saw Big Dig, and he said, I'm going to take her. And so he came up and talked to us at the event. And so it's not just for little kids, it's for the big kids at heart as well. I just wanted to talk a little bit more about our partnership with Four Rivers Equipment. For Big Dig as well, all of our proceeds at Big Dig go to pediatric cancer research. So it's an event that's geared towards kids that goes back to kids. And our Big Dig event started off in 2018, small but mighty. We had, I think, a couple of hundred people join us that day and raised about $47,000. And now, fast forward 8 years later, we now last year sold out at over 3,000 tickets and raised over $130,000 for the American Cancer Society and pediatric cancer research. We could not have seen that kind of growth in our Big Dig event without partnerships that we have with companies like Four Rivers Equipment. Four Rivers Equipment has been with us since 2018 and has made just an incredible impact. It's such a pleasure working with Hannah and the rest of the team, John and all of that. All of you all have been just such great partners with us. Four Rivers Equipment has provided tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars of support to our Big Dig event, and not only in the form of just sending a check. They have also provided support such as pieces of equipment, like they were saying, that kids could climb on, sending volunteers day of, hosting fun activities at their booths, such as a giant, awesome obstacle course, underwriting volunteer meals, and not even mentioning the thousands of dollars worth of marketing that they do for us as well and for the event. They also, a couple of years ago, hosted our pre-event party for us at TPC Golf in Colorado, and we're just so thankful for all of the support that they give us. From being able to see the support and the passion that Four Rivers Equipment has had for our Big Dig event these past few years, to seeing them become more involved with the American Cancer Society by doing a Fit to Be program, and now this amazing campaign that they're hosting for our organization's mission to end cancer as we know it for everyone, I have no doubt in my mind that they will not only meet, but also greatly exceed their $100,000 goal with this campaign that they're doing. And of course, I'm also super excited to have the piece of equipment at Big Dig this year. The kids are going to love it. I already love it. So thank you to Four Rivers Equipment for choosing to support the American Cancer Society. It's celebration of 100 years of business. We're so grateful. Cannot wait to see the impact that this fundraiser has. And here's to a couple hundred more years.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Ciera, for sharing with us and helping us understand a little bit better about your guys' mission. I'm going to turn this over to Mark Keeler. He's our branch manager here in Frederick.
Good morning and welcome, everybody. I just want to say thank you for coming out. We didn't expect to turn out like we have, so thank you very much. First, before I get started, I just want to thank the team in Frederick. They worked long and hard. I'm going to call out both Tess and Sean. Sean made this thing sparkle like it is today. It's a beautiful piece of machinery. I've asked that every single piece of machinery that leaves this office be this clean. So for the future, we're gonna have some clean fleet coming out of here. I think the big point of what we want to do today is just bring a highlight of some of the donations that we've had. When we first went out and asked for donations, one of the first people to step up was Fiore and Sons. They offered to donate the very first check to us. And so I'd like to recognize those guys right now and have them come up real quick for a picture, if you don't mind. Thanks, guys. We had two other customers that stepped up. Our second one was Lone Tree Services, and they stepped up as well fairly quickly. And Apricus was another one that we had that was at the top three. So we appreciate all our partners. Very grateful for their donation. And we look forward to bringing this to your office. Our plan is to bring these to each one of their offices and just let it sit for some pictures with their employees. We feel that we're gonna try to keep it out of the dirt for a little while until we finish this. But in general, I just want to thank everybody for what they've given to us from the store level, and thank all the employees for what they've done to put this event together. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Mark Favetti.
Morning, everybody. My name is Mark Favetti, Director of Rental out here at Four Rivers. Again, thanks for coming out. As you've heard John and Governor Romer and our guests talk about community, as we tried to bring the concept of this excavator to life, we knew we'd have to draw upon community. So at this point, I'd like to call up Tim Drish from Arrowhead Services and Jeff Busan from Ritchie Brothers. Again, we said we have to make a John Deere yellow excavator to a totally unique looking machine that's going to stand out and highlight our partnership with these guests. So we turned to these two fine organizations. Of course, we have a long history of working with Ritchie Brothers in the Big Dig and Arrowhead Services. They do a lot of machine work, reconditioning, painting, finishing, and they were the obvious choice for us to partner with to bring this machine to life. So we sent them 3 emails and said, hey, can you make this yellow excavator look like this? And you can obviously see the results. Beautiful professional job, great collaboration with the community. So just want to give a round of applause to these 2 organizations and their support. And as it comes to painting this, when we approached them, they immediately came back and said, hey, we'd like to sponsor this. So they donated half the material, half the labor. So they were instrumental in supporting the community that way. So again, round of applause for these 2 companies. So I would encourage everyone here to use their phones, scan this QR code. We made it very simple, the partnership with ACS. You can donate $1, $5, $5,000. It all goes to a great cause. We encourage everyone to step up, support such a worthy event.